Wait, this is an hour ago. Holy shit. So this has been going on for months? So this was in March. Wow. It's liberation. Yeah, look at how many people there are. This is insane. Ever since the train. How is nobody talking about this? This is massive. We are having a global international crash out. It's happening in Indonesia. It's happening in America. It's happening in Europe. It's happening on a minor level in, Japan. It's happening in Australia. And I think in some South American countries it's been happening. There is a global, worldwide crash out.
Serbia is seeing another night of clashes between anti-government protesters and security forces. Footage appears to show police throwing flares at protesters, with rioters throwing objects and fireworks back at the police in the capital, Belgrade.
Yeah, look at all this.
Violence has been rocking the country for the past several days after members of the ruling Serbian Progressive Party were accused of throwing fireworks at protesters. Anti-government demonstrations were triggered months ago after a deadly roof collapse at a train station. Dozens of people have been injured in the recent unrest, with hundreds more detained.
Protesters faced off with riot police, separating them from right-wing government loyalists in downtown Belgrade. Armored vehicles rolled through parts of the capital.
Holy
shit! Police fired tear gas at demonstrators. There were also violent protests in other Serbian cities, including in Valjevo.
See, I bet that before they invented like cell phone cameras and shit, I bet the police beat the shit out of it and they killed people all the time. And I bet this happened in the U.S. Like, I guarantee you, like some guy that's causing trouble in some small town, they're like, yeah, Ted, we're going to take you down to the station. And, you know, they pull up next to like the side of like a big hill and they're like, all right, Ted, go ahead. We're gonna untie you. All right. You got anything else you gonna say? No? All right. Bang. And that's it. Yeah, for sure. I guarantee you that's what happened probably all the time. It's still happening in third world countries today. Yeah.
Where video shared on social media showed officers with batons beating an unarmed demonstrator. The unrest marks a sharp...
And I think that now, especially, like, what's really changed is that, and this has been happening in the last 10 years, is you're having even, like, I mean, Serbia isn't, like, a shitty country or anything like that, right? But, like, they have a lower standard of living, that my understanding is, like, in, like, compared to, like, the U.S. or Canada, right? And so, like, now, almost everybody has access to a cell phone in one way or another. And so anybody can record this kind of stuff. And so now you're seeing the types of oppression that I think people go through in these countries that are developing or are third world countries.
Escalation of protests, which have gripped Serbia
That's what it seems like what's going on
for 9 months. But this week, the tensions spiked after groups of pro-government supporters allegedly attacked anti-government demonstrators, who in turn were accused of throwing rocks and eggs at police.
Well, it seems like that's what happened.
This cooperation between thugs, the police, and the ruling SNS party has never been seen before. All of us citizens are very upset by these developments.
Yeah, I bet. Holy shit.
Student-led anti-government protests
and this is all over that
triggered
thing.
last November by the collapse of a railway station roof in the town of Novi Sad, which killed 16 people. Many Serbians blame the incident on government corruption and shoddy construction contracts linked to allies of the ruling Serbian Progressive Party.
Yeah, basically they hired, this is like it was like a Grand Central Station in Serbia, right? It was like a national area that like everybody recognized, a famous train station, and they had like a garden over it, and they redid it, and they had this like Chinese company or something like that do it, and like after they did like a post-mortem of the construction after it collapsed, it was so obviously made basically with no care or relevance at all. They didn't give a fuck. Yeah, they basically duct taped it all together. They didn't account for water weight. Exactly, yes. They made something with a garden that did not account for water weight. Oh my fucking God. So it collapsed, it killed a bunch of people. And that wasn't really why people were angry. I mean, it was, but the real reason why they were angry is that nobody faced any accountability for it. Nothing happened. But nobody really got arrested. There were connections that, as I said, like the party to like the company that was happening. Yeah, who approved it? Well, I don't know. It was mostly kids. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, it was the catalyst. Yeah, it was. Well, basically what it did is that it gave everybody it was a point where you could look at and you could say, yes, we have corruption. Look at this. I think that's probably what happened.
Since then,
huge protests. People losing their fucking minds. People were furious. And I want you guys to see, this is what needs to happen. Like, for those of you guys that are in Australia and in Europe and you want to get the immigrants out and all the migrants that are not assimilating into your culture and are being protected by the government systematically, even though they sexually assault the women that are in your country. This is the size of a crowd you need to start. You need to get way more people.
Demonstrations have swelled, fueled by wider
Gathering
frustrations
big numbers changes
over
nothing,
Serbia's economy,
it
media
matters.
restrictions,
It does matter.
and alleged misuse of
Look at all
public
this.
funds.
Yeah.
Protesters are now
Holy
demanding
shit.
early elections in hopes of ousting President Aleksandar Vučić and his party. But Vučić has remained defiant, denouncing the demonstrations as part of a foreign plot to overthrow him. He
Of course, right.
also praised the conduct of the police and pledged more arrests after the protests. But even the threat of a harsh police crackdown has not
And here's how
deterred
you know they're full of shit. Is that nobody got arrested, as far as I know, in the government for any sort of corruption. There is nobody that got in trouble for, gross negligence on the development of this. Like, nothing ever really happened to anybody there. So that's how you know it's bullshit.
demonstrators who have announced more protests across Serbia. They're demanding accountability for November's station
just like
collapse
ours,
and an end to what they call
and this is what the big difference is, right? And I try to say this every time that I look at this, is that in America, these conflicts don't happen that are unified against the government, because every conflict becomes politicized. So something like BLM is liberals against conservatives. Something like the Tea Party is conservatives against liberals. And I think that in a lot of the cases, like whether it's BLM, whether it's, the Tea Party, whether it's anything else, a lot of the core causes, I think that a lot of people can kind of get behind. Like, for example, I think most of you guys agree that police accountability needs to be higher, and it's really bad that police unions protect bad actor police officers, and there needs to be more accountability for the police. So that's not really a crazy thing to think. I think most people think that, right? And the problem, though, is that it gets turned into a divisive issue for no reason. And I think the media is complicit in this. The media takes every single issue, and there's always a right-wing and a left-wing perspective to it, and the perspectives are always different. Let me ask you something. When was the last time that there was a United States issue that everybody in the country was united on? Obviously, the first one that comes to mind is September 11th, right? Everybody wanted to go over there and bomb Afghanistan. What else besides that? I don't think Epstein is a good example, because look at how fast so many Republicans turned into just not giving a shit about Epstein. It happened in like a day. I can't be the only person that didn't that noticed this, right? That it just happened immediately. As soon as they started hearing that, oh, wait a minute, this is a Democrat talking point now. I can't like this anymore. I can't care about this anymore. Yeah, they dropped it so fast. Exactly. Draw his clients. No, I'm telling you, that's what's happened. And I think that's the big difference whenever I see protests in these other countries and I compare them with protests that happen here in America. It's a huge difference. That's not true? I think it is. I definitely think it's true.
Culture of corruption and impunity.
DW correspondent Idris Zaferi in Belgrade has more on these clashes. Well, flares, tear gas, and crowd control vehicles were used from the police last night to spread the protesters. Everything started peacefully around
It's a Christmas tree.
8 p.m. When the protesters gathered near the
Why aren't they putting it out?
army headquarters, which was bombed during the NATO bombing in '99. But then a few hours later, we could see clashes, and the streets of capital of Serbia were blocked, and a lot of tensions and also physical violence was seen in the streets of Belgrade. Dozens of people were arrested. We don't have official numbers, figures, how many people were arrested and how many of them.
No, it's been a lot, obviously. Like, it's very clearly been a lot. I mean, obviously, a lot of people got arrested. I'll be right back. Give me a second. So, yeah, they probably arrested hundreds of people out of this. They're saying dozens because they don't want to make it sound like they're arresting everybody. That's what I would guess.
Were injured, but it's obvious that it was one
Could
of
be
the
wrong, but that's what I'm thinking.
We could see these days and this period during the anti-government protests in Serbia.
Now, Serbians have been protesting for almost a year now, and the protests have been largely peaceful so far. Why did they turn violent now?
This is the biggest clash we have seen for all this time. Of course, there were other incidents in June.
I didn't realize it just kept going, too. That's what I'm kind of surprised by.
But 4 nights ago...
Isn't that what you want an arrest in the U.S., arrest the troublemakers? I think that if you're violating and, like, you're damaging property, yeah, for sure. But, like, a lot of these people are just protesting. Like, I mean, you're not talking about people that are, you know, like, destroying property, looting stores, or doing anything else. Yeah, sure, I can understand them arresting people that are, like, hitting them or, like, something like that. Sure, of course they're going to do that. But, like, whenever you're shutting them down and, like, spraying them down with tear gas, burning a tree, no, they should arrest the person that burned the tree for sure. Of course. Yeah, duh. Of course. What do you mean?
Were protesting in few cities in Serbia when supporters of leading government party, Progressive Party of Aleksandar Vučić, who is the president, they went in the streets and they clashed with protesters, attacking them, and then we could see that this is almost like a civil war in the streets, and
yeah, this does look pretty bad
among protesters, the students who lead this protest, but also the citizens who support them. And every night since then, it has been repeating the same scenes that we can see now. They have been repeating in different cities of Serbia. And
I think also social media helps people organize protests like this a lot more easily. And, like, you even see this in the U.S., right, where, like, people have, like, apps and stuff to try to, like, find out where ICE raids are going to happen so they can interfere with the ICE raid or cause problems for the officers there. I think this is basically the same exact thing. And, yeah, what happens is police give an order to disperse. If you don't, you're breaking the law. You can be arrested. Sure, I mean, I don't know what Serbia's laws are, etc. But, like, I mean, again, I think that, again, protesting against, like, the government that's, like, just straight up corrupt is very different than protesting against an election that didn't go the way you wanted it to. I think that's generally a very big difference. And it's like basically a lot of the protests here are people protesting against the law, and the protests in the other sides of the world, like Serbia, are people that are protesting in favor of the law. And I think that's the big fucking difference there, is that in the U.S., you have people that are actively protesting because they want to keep illegal aliens and drug dealers in the country. And over there, they're protesting because there's people building fucking stuff that collapses and it kills people, and nobody gets in trouble for it. That's it.
Most likely going to continue like that.
Now, these protests are, of course, against the government of President Vučić.
Yeah,
what is he saying?
I bet they are. No accountability, yeah.
He gave an interview. Where he accused actually foreign forces, he said that it's very obvious that the center and motivation of this protest is not inside Serbia, but it's a foreign factor that is trying to destroy the future of Serbia. Of course, we could see that he said that
this show by protest today flipped them all off. Good job.
Students are demanding for snap elections to resolve this problem.
And you can see also, like, that's another good example, right? Is they're asking for an election. These people are demanding a democratic way of solving this problem. Whereas in the U.S., people are actively trying to deny the outcome of an election. And that's another huge difference there, too.
But he said that the elections will happen most probably before the time that is set up by law, but not when the protesters are demanding, and that police and state will show strength using every night more than 3,000 police officers to stop those who want to gain power with violence in the streets.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see if there's any more of this over here, if there's any more updates, because I haven't really heard anything about this at all. Serbia protest? Serbia's blocked. This is June. This is back in June, too. Holy shit. So this has been going on for, like, months now. It's because of Marvel movies, yeah. Your mod was there? Yeah, one of my mods was there at the protest at the beginning. You're right. Holy shit, man. They got everything blocked off? Yeah, I fucking bet. And there's a Labubu. Okay, great. And so, yeah, this is the one that I saw. I remember whenever I watched this whenever it happened. And this is the same one we saw before. That's how many people there were originally whenever this first happened, I believe. And so now I just didn't even realize that it's still going on to this day. I thought that they kind of just, you know, like with a lot of these kinds of things, I feel like they kind of burn out. But not this one. There's been so many protests and problems in the countries. Do you think it's been happening? So this is the reason why I think it's been happening, right? Is that social media gives people way more tools to organize and get together and share ideas and plan protests. So that makes it way easier. Then you also have, I think, a higher level of awareness to bad behavior. Because back whenever state media and like mainstream media was the only way that you could really get any information, the flow of information was very, very tightly controlled. And because of that, you had almost nobody bringing up stuff that was problematic. The news would probably report it in a way that was, you know, in one way or another, kind of beneficial to them or beneficial to the government. And this is also something, apparently, this happened, I guess, a couple of days ago, and this is the new flashpoint for what's happened, and has obtained audio recordings of a United Group Telecom and Serbia CEOs discussing undermining N1, a Serbian TV channel that has documented anti-government protests. In recorded conversation, the Telecom Serbia CEO alleged that Serbian President Alexander Vučić, I don't know how to say his name, personally spoke about the dismissal of this person who heads the company that owns it. So they're straight up trying to get people that are fired from the media that are covering the protests at all. And so that's really what's happening, and that's the big difference. Vučić asked Nikos to replace this person, not the directors of N1, as he was now where it's difficult to now change the director. Yeah, there we go. And holy fucking shit, man. This is a scandal not only in Serbia, but also in the EU media space. How much money did Mueller receive? Exactly. Inform the investors in the bullshit partner fund? Yeah. And it's crazy that this just kind of gets ignored. It really is. A reasonable conversation went out the window when Vučić calls protesters terrorists. He called it the colored revolution. But like, he doesn't mean colored in like the same way that like people used it as like a derogatory term like here in America, right? He's talking about this as like just a different group of people. But yeah, this is from I guess a few days ago also. Holy shit. Look at all this. Jesus. Everybody's got the same flag, too. Isn't that interesting? Wow. Did ending USAID create this around the world? No, I don't think so. I don't think it had anything to do with USAID. I think it's funny to talk about that, but I don't really think that's the reason. I don't think that's what happened. I think the real reason why this is going on and why it's becoming so extreme is, again, because primarily of the internet and the decentralization of information. Like, that's the main reason why it's happening. There are other reasons, sure. There are other reasons, but I think that's basically the, what do you call it? That's the flashpoint of it.